Hey guys, it's the hardcore legend Mick Foley here, and I need to call a quick timeout, a brief timeout, because I wanted to tell your listeners what I have been telling Foley is Pod listeners for a while now about all the cool things happening over on adfreeshows.com.
We kick off 2023 by going back to 1983 and the debut of the NWA U.S. Heavyweight Championship, commonly referred to as the 10 Pounds of Silver, on an all-new edition of Title Chase.
Overtime has just kind of worn out, and then Magnum TA told me himself that he finally just polished some of the rest of it out because it just had some little bit in the corners or whatever that had hung on, and so he just finished the job.
Our book series continues, and this time we turn to Jim Crockett Promotions. Conrad and David Crockett dive into Jim Crockett Jr.'s handwritten booking logs from January 1985.
So tell us exactly what we're looking at here, the red books.
All right, the red books, I have to tell you, are basically, and I'll hold one up. This is a calendar for a book for 1985.
Yep.
All right, in it, I'm just going to pull a page. Handwritten, the matches, and also the gross of the city, towns that we're in, the matchups. And this is the Bible. It was started with my father.
On January 24th, Ad Free Shows is bringing you another premium watch-along event as we celebrate the 35-year anniversary of the very first Royal Rumble. And we're watching it live with the winner of that historic match, Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh, hey folks, I'm WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan from the golden age of wrestling, and I'm celebrating the 35th anniversary of my win in the first ever Royal Rumble by watching this Royal Rumble on adfreeshows.com. Join me January 24th at 9 p.m. adfreeshows.com. Tough guy, first ever winner. Ho!
That's just a small taste, a sampling, if you will, of what we have waiting for you. With 4 levels to choose from. 4. See for yourself why Ad Free Shows is the best value in wrestling today. Sign up now, right now, at adfreeshows.com. Yeah.
The recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment.
Hey, this is Kurt Angle, and welcome to the Kurt Angle Show. On the show today, we'll be discussing the beginning of Team Angle and my match with Chris Benoit at the Royal Rumble 2003. But first, let me introduce to you my co-host, Paul Bromwell. How you doing today, Paul?
Hey, Kurt. I'm doing well, man, and always glad to be here and be with you. I want to talk about a few things before we get into Royal Rumble 2003, because there is a lot that has happened this past week. From this podcast that we recorded last week, first of all, the Saudi Arabia show, it's been a tremendous episode for us, and got a lot of awesome feedback. And what kind of crazy timing was that with all the rumors and speculation that was out there? WWE is going to be sold to Saudi Arabia. So let's start at the top. Stephanie McMahon resigns with the WWE. What do you think about that news?
I'm surprised. I didn't expect Stephanie to resign. I'm not sure if she did it because of her father, but she is a classy woman, and she was a great employer. She reminded me a lot of Vince in many ways, and I think that's why he trusted the company with her. But I'm just really surprised that she resigned.
Yeah, I mean, the timing of him coming back, the speculation of the sale, and then her saying, bye-bye, I'm out. I'm just going to be a fan now.
Right. That was crazy. And you know what? I know a lot of people are concerned about what's going to happen with the WWE, whether Saudi Arabia is going to buy them or not. I can tell you this: Vince McMahon, Nick Khan, and Triple H, they will always do what's best for the company and what's best for the shareholders. So whatever that is, that's what decision they're going to make.
And it could be going private. I mean, there's so much speculation. Now they're backpedaling on, as far as the rumors that it's not Saudi, that there's a lot of other people still invested. It's even going as far as to saying, oh, by the way, Tony Khan and his dad are also could be in the mix to possibly buy him. That would be crazy and send the wrestling world into a tailspin.
Oh God, man, that would Tony Khan would own all of it then.
I mean, I know, right? And then we'd be back to a monopoly.
Yeah, no more same monopoly. Yes, same thing as what we did the last 5 years with Vince McMahon before A&E came in. AEW came in. Yeah.
So I'm not sure, but I tell you what, get your popcorn ready because it's going to be a lot of fun to see kind of what happens, and they're trying to get this all done before the TV rights deals expire. So Kurt and we're just going to sit back and watch it together. We'll talk about it a little bit on the show, but it's all news to us, right, Kurt? You're not hearing anything inside.
No, I'm not. So this is all new to me, to be honest with you.
Yeah. One more thing I wanted to touch on before we jump into 2003, 20 years ago, dude, is the story that you shared last week has gone viral as far as your daughter saving your life on that jet ski accident. It's been all over. There was a People magazine article online about it. It was all over the place. They even said on the People article, and his co-host Paul Brumwell, Brumwell. They spelled everything else right, which was hilarious. Giovanna texted it to me and we had a good laugh. But man, talk about big time exposure and the hero, your daughter getting all kinds of headlines. What have you been hearing?
Well, you know what? We weren't expecting that. I just wanted to tell people, I was proud of my daughter of what she did for me. Getting a little emotional right now. But she really stepped up and she did something that she doesn't quite understand right now. Saving her father from drowning is a big deal. And, news stations were trying to contact us, and my wife and I felt that, my daughter being 11 years old, she's in no position right now to be interviewed. She doesn't need that type of exposure. But I am so proud of her, what she did. And my wife is too. She's a hero. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. And thank God we got her in the swimming, at 6 years of age. Now she has the possibility of making the Olympics someday. And, she at least, something good came out of it already.
She's already saved one life, her dad's.
Yeah.
Oh, such a man. And that's the feel good stories that we need to hear more of, that we love to hear, because this world is filled with so much negativity at times. And, but buddy, I am so glad. I thought a lot about that after we talked and just the news articles and stuff that came out. And you said, Paul, if it was my younger kids, I wouldn't be here with you today. And that really struck a chord.
Yeah. She was the first one that I picked to jet ski with, to put her on the back of me. I was driving her around. But if I would have put my other kids, my 10-year-old or my 6-year-old, they wouldn't have been able to save me. My 11-year-old did. And it was crazy. Not only did she pull me to the jet ski, but I couldn't get up because my upper body strength.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Neck. And she pushed me, pushing my ass, got me up on the jet ski. And then she jumped up and then we started riding again. It was crazy that my daughter was able to do that.
Wow. Not only does Giovanna know what it's like to carry your ass, now your daughter knows what it's like to push your ass around. We joke and kid now.
Quite a bit, yeah.
because we can. But man, so good. And we wanted to put that out there. And thank you all for the kind comments. So much love on social media I saw towards you and your family. And just so cool to see, Kurt. And we're glad to have you, bud. And by the way, no more water sports for you. Okay. Just put the jet skis down. Okay.
Well, I can't swim. I should be in the water anyway.
No, that's right. Forget it. Okay. You stick to other things like doing podcasts. But buddy, you said it at the top of the show. Let's jump into it. 20-year anniversary. Here we are in January 2023. It's the Royal Rumble. You're now the WWE champion, coming off of Armageddon, which we did talk about last month. So if you haven't checked that episode out, go ahead and take a listen. Is the feeling different, Kurt, on your third title reign compared to your first or second? How are you feeling at this point, being a 3-time champ?
Be honest with you, I got those first 2 titles so quickly in my career that I wasn't really as good as I was the third time I won it. I think that experience took over, and I was a lot better of a wrestler, an overall performer and entertainer. And so my third title run was a little bit better than the other two because I was actually a better wrestler and a better entertainer. Other than that, there was not much of a difference.
Well, dude, let's get into it. Let's get into the story. Let's start the build, if you will, to Royal Rumble 2003. Your first promo on SmackDown coming out of SmackDown, you thank Brock Lesnar for his help for defeating Big Show. Lesnar comes out looking for his title shot because, of course, he should. And you agree he'll get the first one, but you're already wrestling Chris Benoit, and you tell Lesnar he can get his shot next week. When are you told, Kurt, of the plan that you're going to be paired up with Paul Heyman, as we're about to find out?
You know what? I found out about a week before it was announced. And what's crazy was, Paul came up with this idea, and this was his idea, having Team Angle, and he wanted to manage Team Angle. And I thought it was a great idea. It's not that I needed Paul to speak for me, but he draws a lot of heat. At this particular time, I was kind of a baby face. So, having Paul on my side would draw a little bit more heat for me. So, the crazy thing is, he was managing Brock, and then he was managing Big Show. And then all of a sudden he switched.
He's managing you.
But the company didn't want to pause on that. When Paul came up with the idea, Vince was like, let's do it. Let's do Team Angle right now. So Paul had to adapt and go from Big Show to me.
So you find out about a week ahead of time. Are you excited to have Paul now as part of your presentation?
Yeah. I knew Paul would help me gain heat. He is the best heel in the business. I mean, he really is. He draws a lot of heat. He's the best promo guy I've ever been around. You're around him, you learn a lot. And so I was really happy to have Paul as my manager.
Let's do a little look back in time. Do you think that the story would have been better if you faced Brock at Survivor Series, having Heyman turn on Brock and then get the build going that way? Or do you kind of like the way it unfolded?
You know what? The thing is, I wanted to save Brock for WrestleMania. I knew that was going to be a big matchup. He was the big guy coming out of college, an NCAA champion, kind of mirrored my career. And I knew that this would be very special. So I definitely loved the way they did it.
All right. Well, listen, we have 2 clips this week. That's right. Only 2 for all those that aren't huge fans of all the clips, just 2 of them. And this one is you announcing that you've signed Paul Heyman, and Heyman's going to discuss how this was the master plan to screw Lesnar. And now Lesnar's not getting a title shot. You mentioned it as far as him flip-flopping a little bit. Did you think this looked silly, or were you on board with this whole plan of how this would just ultimately look like it's all about Heyman screwing Brock?
You know what? It was a little bit far-fetched. Paul Heyman goes from Brock, the Big Show, to me, just to screw Brock Lesnar. The thing is, I don't know if that was – honestly – I didn't really mind that he did. It didn't really bother me much, but it was a little weird. I mean, going one to another that quickly.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. We're going to take a look at our first clip here of the week. It's Kurt introducing Paul Heyman as his brand new manager.
What I'd like to do right now is introduce the head of my management team, Paul Heyman.
What?
Oh, my God.
I'm gonna be sick.
Right to Brock Lesnar's face. You played Brock Lesnar. You manipulated Brock Lesnar. You played him like a violin. And here's the best part now. As my first act as Kurt Angle's agent, I want to publicly declare that the Kurt Angle Brock Lesnar match for the WWE title is hereby postponed indefinitely.
Damn! Come on, Paul!
Because my client wants to pursue other options. My client wants to pursue other challengers. Any challenger but Brock Lesnar.
I cannot believe this.
Hey, Brock! From me and the champ to you. Gotcha! Again!
reason. I told you I had the greatest contingency plan of all time. And I want you to think about this. I dumped Brock Lesnar for you. I'm not dumping you for Kurt Angle. You're still my favorite client, and Kurt Angle knows it. This is the greatest thing that's ever happened. Think about this. Think of the leverage that we now have together. We have a 7-foot-tall, 500-pound giant that put The Undertaker on the disabled list. The man that handed Brock Lesnar his first defeat ever. And we have an Olympic gold medalist who's a WWE champion. Think about the power that we now have. Think about the leverage that we now have. Think about the bargaining position that we now have. And Joe, with the three of us all together, I have so much leverage that I'm gonna walk right back there right now to Stephanie McMahon's office. And as the agent of the Big Show and Kurt Angle, I am going to demand that since Kurt Angle will not be facing Brock Lesnar next week, that Kurt Angle defends the WWE title next week right here on SmackDown against you!
What? That's a win-win for Heyman.
It's a good idea. Listen, Kurt, as long as you're the champion, or as long as the Big Show is the champion, then we're the ones in power. As long as that title never again belongs to Brock Lesnar.
It never ends. With Heyman, the misery never ends.
Kurt, there we go. Were you a title guy? I see you're carrying the undisputed championship belt at this point that you have over your shoulder. Did you have a favorite title belt that you carried around?
Yes, my first one, the Eagle one.
Yes, the big Eagle.
That was my favorite. Yeah.
There you go. Well, listen, here you are now. Heyman's working his mojo on the mic. Meltzer chimes in. He says, later that night in your match with Benoit beats Angle via DQ. Benoit had Angle pinned after a diving headbutt when Show interfered. They beat Benoit until Lesnar made the save. Lesnar was about to give Heyman an F5 when Angle clipped his knee, and he and Show beat up on Lesnar. Lesnar made a comeback, suplexing Show overhead and threw Angle's knee into the ring post, which was the injury angle. Kurt, you're hurting pretty bad here at this point. Did you tell anyone? Maybe it's not a good idea for me to be wrestling right now.
Well, I injured my knee, not at this night. When Brock Lesnar did it, it was for storyline purposes to show that I hurt my knee. So I did it beforehand, and I had to have knee surgery. So I was in a position where I was champion, and I was going to go out with injury. And they didn't know what to do, but I told them, listen, it's just a meniscus. It's just a cartilage. I'm just going to get it taken out, and I'll be ready in 3 weeks.
Such a Kurt Angle answer.
6 to 8 weeks to get better, to prepare or repair from it. But I figured I could do it in 3 weeks. So I that's what I promised Vince, and I did it.
If you listen to this show, that's no surprise whatsoever. That's just what Kurt did back then. And but it's got to be tough for you, though. You're wrestling Chris Benoit and just not being able to go full bore against someone like him.
You got to be ready when you wrestle Chris Benoit. I mean, he's the most well-conditioned, most intense wrestler I've ever been in the ring with. You have to be on your A game. But Chris is great because he can work around anything. So I knew with my knee injury, we could actually still have a great match.
And that's cool because as intense he was, he still understood, hey, Kurt's got a hurt leg here, and he took care of you in that way, I guess you could say.
And Chris was never stiff or dangerous. The only stiff thing he did was the chops to your chest. Other than that, he was really good. He had a great perception and never stiffed you.
Mm. Well, let's talk about the importance of having Heyman with you. It's really all about making sure people boo you. Isn't that right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was kind of a in-between babyface and heel at this particular time. So going with Paul definitely turned me heel.
Yeah, I mean, it's what did it for Roman Reigns. I mean, once they paired Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman, it's just been next level for him too.
He's a heat seeker, man.
He is. It's got to be pretty cool, too, to be able to build a WrestleMania with a few-month build, considering at WrestleMania 18, your program with Kane felt like it was just thrown together last minute.
It was. It was thrown together the week of WrestleMania. And this one was a nice build-up. But when you're main eventing WrestleMania, that's the kind of build-up you get.
And it's nice. You've talked about it on the show before. You knew already here, hey, it's me and Brock at WrestleMania. And nothing was going to stop you from getting there at this point with him.
Yes, I knew after I won that title that Brock and I were going to wrestle 4 or 5 months later at WrestleMania.
We haven't talked about this, though. When Brock knows, hey, it's going to be me and you, Kurt, at WrestleMania in 4 or 5 months, is he saying anything to you? Is he pumped about it? Is he looking forward to facing you at the show of shows?
You know what? Him and I, it's the first time we got in the ring a little bit here and there, tag matches and stuff, but this was our first singles match. And both of us were looking forward to it. I saw how talented Brock was and how quickly he picked it up. And he knew I was really talented. So we were really looking forward, especially with our amateur wrestling backgrounds. We really wanted to showcase that at WrestleMania. Maybe one day, Kurt, maybe one day we could have Brock on and he could tell us if he was really excited to wrestle you or not. How would that sound? Our chances are slim to none. Yeah, I don't see it happening either. No interviews. But that would be a dream guest, man, to have him sit and talk about meeting you, wrestling you, that time that you two tussled in the ring when none of the cameras were on. That would be fun. I can always try. That's all I can promise. That's all you can do. Well, listen, after the SmackDown here, you go get your knee fixed. You talked about it. What do you remember of what was going on with it? You talked about the meniscus. Was there any other damage done to the knee, or was it just straight up the meniscus issue? I had a slightly torn ligament, and that was bothering me. That's why my knee was really sore and hurting. But for the most part, it was just the meniscus. I had to get that out of there to get that pinching pain out of my knee. And I just knew that eventually, if I didn't really do anything to exert my knee too much, I wouldn't injure it any further. So I just knew I had Benoit coming up, and I had to be ready. Yeah. Well, listen, the next week, Stephanie opened SmackDown with a promo regarding your injury, but they never show the knee injury happening at all when you take a big bump like that, and they decided they didn't want to air it either. Is that something that's an issue to you? Do you think they should have replayed that, or, just to kind of show the intensity of the issue? It wasn't necessarily when I injured my knee, that spot with Brock Lesnar when he knocked my knee off the ring post. So I think they just forgot they did that, and they knew I injured my knee in a different match a couple weeks prior to that. So that's probably why they didn't air it. Yeah, it would have been nice at least to say, hey, here's a replay of what Lesnar did, and this is what caused the injury. In today's world, that would have been shown. So for whatever reason, they didn't connect the dots there. Meltzer chimes in here. He says, Heyman and Angle did an interview with Angle saying that even with one leg, he could still beat Lesnar. Oh, here comes the bullshit. He then introduced Team Angle, which would consist of former amateur wrestling stars Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin as a tag team. Kurt, this is going to be our second clip we're going to play here. This is a big deal. So many people are fans of Team Angle, man. I mean, we'd had Charlie Haas on, and that's one of his favorite things to talk about is when you three were still together, all together. Benjamin's getting a big push as Lesnar's former roommate. He may have been at one point, and they were a tag team in OVW, but in college, Benjamin was an assistant coach at the University of Minnesota when Lesnar was active. Meltzer wanted to share that. They tried to put Benjamin over as having beaten Lesnar when both were in college, and Meltzer says that was not the case. So there you go. Thank God for Dave Meltzer. What will we do without him? I know, but you know what? I will say this. Brock and Shelton trained together every day. They were beating each other. It wasn't like one was dominating the other, but Shelton was a great wrestler. He could have won the national championships the year before Brock did, or 2 years before, because Brock stepped in his junior year, he took second and then won his senior year. But Shelton was really talented. He lost by 1 point to the national champion in the semifinals and ended up wrestling back to third. And then him and Brock trained a lot, and they would beat each other. I'm glad you brought that up, because as much as Dave is just trying to discount, hey, don't listen to what they're saying. They never really wrestled them. But you're right. There was probably a ton of wrestling each other, practice, and things that we never saw, and them working together behind the scenes. So that's also... They were both world-class athletes, yes. There you go. Let's check it out. Our final clip of this week, and this is Heyman introducing officially Team Angle. Here we go.
I have what they call a contingency plan. And this contingency plan, Kurt Angle, this concept is called Team Angle.
Team Angle.
So this is Paul Heyman's contingency plan? What does all this mean?
Thank you for your irrelevant opinion. Kurt, this is the greatest contingency plan of them all. Because tonight, Kurt Angle, you're not only the WWE champion, you are now the captain of your own team. Allow me, Kurt Angle, to introduce to you multi-time All-American from Seton Hall University and a wrestler that is going to be crafted in the very image of my Olympic hero, Kurt Angle. I present to you, sir, Charlie Haas. Just to make it personal to Brock Lesnar, I give to you from the University of Minnesota, Brock Lesnar's former teammate and now your teammate, Brock Lesnar's former roommate, and the one man on the college circuit that took Brock Lesnar down to the mat at will every single time he wanted, multi-time All-American Shelton Benjamin. It is the greatest professional honor of my career, Kurt, to give to you Team Angle.
Kurt Angle's got some serious back hold.
Team Angle! Team Angle! And you're the captain!
Wow.
Team Angle!
This is a great Christmas present. You know, Paul, this is why I hired you. You know, I can tell already. These guys are unlike these people here tonight and unlike Brock Lesnar. They actually do have respect. You know something, Brock? Just like we learned in college, Brock, although you probably never went to classes, just like we learned, Brock, wrestling is a game of human chess. And with Team Angle, Brock, I hereby now declare checkmate.
Perhaps it is indeed checkmate. Well, I'll tell you what, the days of doing something to Kurt Angle are over. We have witnessed the birth of Team Angle. What does this mean for Brock Lesnar?
All right, Kurt, two quick things that I noticed. First of all, the big grin on your face just now as I watched Charlie and Shelton walk down to the ring. I mean, you just were beaming with pride. Brought back a lot of fun memories, didn't it?
They look like badasses, man. I love it. Yeah. Coming down, part of my team, Team Angle. This was awesome. This is my favorite part of my career. I just felt that Team Angle didn't last long enough. It had a lot to do with my injuries, unfortunately. But I would have loved Team Angle to go on for years.
Okay, so that was my first observation. Second observation, the way Paul Heyman described each one of them is his skill, his mastery. It's what he does. It elevates them both immediately coming out of the gate. It just makes them sound like bona fide stars.
He does. He has a way with words that really, really make a difference. Paul's the best promo guy I've ever heard.
so good. Blue chippers right away, and they looked the part. You said it. They looked like two badasses, and it was the perfect mix, the perfect combo with you at the helm. Were you consulted at all going into this about Team Angle? Talk about this all coming together. What did it look like behind the scenes?
Well, behind the scenes, we were trying to get everything put together. I mean, Team Angle, there was a lot more to it than just the team. I mean, we had to have our warm-ups done, our singlets done. The costume people worked on it night and day. They made us 2 different warm-ups for each of us. One was red, one was blue. They were really badass velvet cloth warm-ups, and they were incredible. And the Team Angle singlets were awesome too. But we had to get all that stuff done too. So we were really excited because they're making all this stuff and we're getting ready to go out there to show Team Angle for the first time. And it's like, wow, man, this is really euphoric.
And Benjamin and Haas have to be pumped. I mean, they're getting the Angle rub. I mean, it's Heyman's brainchild, but now, hey, Kurt, we're going to be Team Angle. I mean, were they excited?
It took them to a level that they weren't ever at before. I mean, me giving that rub to them just made them legitimate in professional wrestling. And not because it's me, but because of my credentials and what I was able to accomplish. But Charlie and Shelton were awesome.
What was it like behind the scenes? I mean, was there a lot of picking each other's brain, picking your brain? Because again, this is a new faction for them, and I'm sure they wanted to take advantage of working with you.
Yeah. You know what? We learned a lot from each other. It wasn't just me teaching them. They were teaching me too. We were all former amateur wrestlers, all into professional wrestling. I was relatively new. I mean, to be honest with you, I probably started a year before Shelton did, as far as him training to get ready. So these guys were just, they weren't as experienced as me, but they had a lot to offer. And we all gave each other advice.
You said your one regret is that it didn't last longer, right? Do you remember, outside of your injuries cutting it short, was there a full-scale long-term plan for Team Angle?
Oh, yes. Listen, I wasn't supposed to lose to Brock at WrestleMania. I was supposed to have a nice long title reign for over a year. They were going to keep that title on me and put the titles on Team Angle, the tag team titles, and have us do what Roman Reigns and the Usos are doing right now. That's what was planned. Unfortunately, I broke my neck before WrestleMania, and I had to drop the title to Brock.
Ah, wow. It's cool. So was it you and Paul Heyman working together with the storylines and creative, or was this you and Vince? What did that look like as far as the creative for Team Angle?
I would say all 3 of us. We all worked together. It wasn't just me and Paul or me and Vince or Vince and Paul. We all gave each other our 2 cents worth, and Vince was usually the one to he made the final decisions, but Paul Heyman is the one that came up with the incredible ideas.
And like you said, now we're seeing it again. Some of it, not all of it. It's not fully replicated, but a lot of the same ideas are coming forth with Roman and the Usos and the bloodline,
Yeah. You know what? I don't know if that ever came from Team Angle, but the thing is that these factions, they become really popular. I mean, NWO and, T-Rex and, Team Angle, like I said, we don't belong in that category because we weren't around long enough to get that kind of respect. But I felt that if we did, we'd be one of the greatest factions of all time.
Yeah, and let me say this: not that it's the same, or it's an obviously different level, but you can see some of the same creative threads that, when you're building a faction, a group like this. Like you said, I was supposed to be world champ. They were supposed to be tag champs. We were supposed to be the shit, is what you were trying to say. We were supposed to carry all the gold. And essentially, that's what you're seeing now when it comes to the bloodline. They are the dominant ones. They are carrying those titles. And it's cool. It makes that team, that group, it just elevates it completely as that badass mix of talent.
It did. It elevated all of them. Even Roman Reigns, it took him to another level too.
It does, man. Well, listen, Benoit would defeat Big Show later on SmackDown to become the #1 contender. Here we go. That would means it's you and Chris in a one-on-one big title match coming out of your injury. And Kurt, I know how much respect that you have for him in the ring. So you got to be excited to know it's me and Chris, Royal Rumble.
I just knew the game was on, man, because I knew I had to be ready regardless of my knee. I knew that Chris was going to push me to my limit, and I knew I had to be at my best. I knew I had to work around the injury, and I wasn't concerned because I knew Chris would too. But I also knew that I needed to step up because Benoit can go.
Yeah, and buddy, this is his first big pay-per-view singles title match during his WWF run. So pressure's on him too. Pressure's on you because of the knee. And this is Royal Rumble. This is one of the big ones of the year, right? So it's a big deal all around.
Pay-per-views of the year, yes.
Yeah, and I'm sure Chris had to feel a little bit of pressure too because of this spot, especially considering from Raw, it's going to be Triple H versus Scott Steiner, and this is Steiner's first big match for the company.
Yeah, having Scott Steiner step in and wrestle Triple H, that was a huge matchup.
Yeah.
Chris and I had a lot of pressure on us to try to outdo that match. Unfortunately for Scott, he had drop foot at this particular time, and that's why the match didn't go across as well as it should have with Triple H. But he ended up having surgery on that, and he got it fixed. But Scott Steiner was an incredible wrestler. He was one of the best, and he was a great amateur wrestler. And to see him with that drop foot, it was just really sad and upsetting, because he was so good in that wrestling ring, especially for his size. He was so jacked, but he could still move.
Yeah, he was, man. He was shredded and built like none other. Big Papa Pump. We want to pause this episode of the Kurt Angle Show to tell you about something Kurt and I are super passionate about, and that's great seafood and steaks. Yes, you heard me right. You know I love food. Kurt likes food when he's not dieting, and he does have his cheat meals, but you're not going to get a better meal than at jimmysfamousseafood.com. If you're a fan of the wrestling podcast, you've heard Conrad talk about it, and many of the other wrestlers. Their pictures are hanging up all over the wall in Jimmy's Famous Seafood, and right now we have a deal for you. Jimmy's Famous is going to be a hit at your party, so listen. Free 2-day nationwide shipping on orders over $125. All you got to do is use the promo code ANGLE. That's it. Promo code ANGLE, and you can take advantage of that free 2-day nationwide shipping. Now, it excludes steamed crabs and fresh items, but listen what you can choose from. I'm talking Maryland crab cakes, soups and chowders, oysters, signature steaks. They have so many different items. I'm talking barbecue spare ribs, wings, crab dip. And the sleeper item, their crab cake egg rolls. You haven't had anything that good. I'm telling you, I love it. I get it every time I go there. They have packages that you can buy. They have their famous gift box. That includes 4 of the world's best colossal Maryland crab cakes, crab soups, crab dip, seafood seasoning, the whole 9 yards. They have a tailgate bundle that includes those wings and ribs I talked about, plus that crab cake mix. They've been featured on diners, drive-ins, and dives, Beat Bobby Flay, and so much more. And there's a reason for that. They've been in business for 40 years. It's a fantastic company. It's a fantastic place to eat. And they're going to bring it to your doorstep, freezing cold, ready to go for you to make some fantastic food and be the hero at your next party. Take advantage of it now. jimmysfamousseafood.com, promo code ANGLE. So let's talk about the first SmackDown in 2003. It's in Albuquerque, and it's live. How different is this live compared to taped? It's a lot more pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't screw up. When it was taped, you could screw up and do it over again. Now, you don't have any more safety nets. So it's all you, man. You got to do it the first time and do it right.
So it's reported in the Observer, Kurt, that you show up to the show and you're still limping badly. Talk about the rehab process, brother, because is it just moving a little slower than you thought? Are you starting to get a little nervous because the Rumble's coming up here soon?
Well, you know what? It wasn't slow. It's just that I had to I really tried to make it fast. In other words, I tried to recover quicker than I should have. And I think that's the reason why I was still suffering from the knee injury. It's because it wasn't quite healed all the way.
You're overworking the thing, trying to get it back in rehab, which sounds like a typical Angle move. And slow down, Kurt, slow down. Speaking of not slowing down, you do a run-in and hit Benoit with a belt shot for the match between Benoit and Edge. They were taking on Team Angle. Were you pushing them to become tag champions just to make the group look better? Were you trying to push for that in the back already, or what did that look like?
I didn't have to, because the plan was for them to win the tag team titles. I think they eventually won them, I believe, right after the Rumble. So we all held the titles at this particular time. So we started out, as champions pretty much. It didn't take them long to win the tag team titles, and we were on our way.
Talk to me about the first time you saw them work in person as a tag team, and what was your overall impression of watching them as workers in the ring?
You know what? They both were incredible in their own way. Charlie was more of a technician. Shelton was more of an overall athlete. Shelton might have been the best athlete I ever seen in the ring. I mean, some of the stuff he could do, he was like a cat. You know, he could jump up on the top rope and walk all the way around the 4 corners on the top rope without falling. It was incredible athlete. But they were very different. But when you brought them together, they had incredible chemistry.
And that's where it's at, man, with tag teams. It's guys don't have to have the same skills, but if they're blended together and bring something different to the table, that's what can make a tag team special.
Well, what they had was amateur wrestling as a background. You know, Shelton was more of a high flyer, you know, stunt guy. Charlie was more of a technician, but they both had amateur wrestling in their backgrounds.
Let's talk about that a little bit, their amateur wrestling accomplishments. How impressed were you with what they accomplished in amateur wrestling? Because you're the pinnacle, right? You win the gold medal. You're the top dog when people think about amateur wrestling and what you were able to accomplish. What did you think about what they were able to accomplish?
Okay, if you place in the top 8 at the NCAAs, you're a badass. Charlie, I believe, took 7th one year. Shelton took 3rd and 5th. Those guys were all Americans. They were legitimate badasses. And there's not much of a difference between the champion, the NCAA champion, and the 7th place placer. Yeah. So, you know, it's maybe a point or two. So, you know, it's a really tight competition, and anybody could win the NCAAs. And those guys proved to me that they were some of the best wrestlers in the country.
Be honest. Do you wish your knee would have been 100% around this time so you could throw them in the ring and tussle around and do some good old amateur wrestling with these guys?
Yes, I was limited, and I didn't get a lot of time with those guys to get in the ring and open up with them. So, you know, after my match with Benoit, I still had to heal up from my knee injury, so I wasn't getting in the ring much. Not until after WrestleMania, because I ended up breaking my neck right after I hurt my knee. And then we went to WrestleMania, and then I ended up having the surgery. So I really never had any time to get in the ring with those guys.
Well, listen, the expectations of the match between you and Chris are high within the company, and that's being reported everywhere. It's high for the fans. We couldn't wait to see it. Was it high for you two as well at this point? I mean, are you two feeling, hey, we know the company expects big things. We can feel the fans expect big things. Are you feeling that, dude?
Yes, we were feeling it because everybody saw us wrestle before, and they knew how good those matches were. And I was just nervous because of my knee. And I thought, man, if I can't, you know, step up and make this happen with Chris Benoit and have a great match, then you know, I probably shouldn't be here because of my knee injury. So I was really hoping that my knee would hold out and we'd be able to have an incredible match. And I want to tell you, I didn't think the match was good. After I got done with it.
You've said that before.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
I'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah. Let's get into that later. So the next week on SmackDown, Charlie Haas gets a win over Edge when you interfere, and Benoit takes you out before Shelton hits Edge with a super kick, and Haas gets the power slam, and it's over. Benoit would later on win by DQ over Benjamin when you hit Benjamin with a crutch, and Meltzer would point out both members of Team Angle looked better this week compared to the previous week. Do you think any of that had to do with working singles matches compared to tag team matches? Because remember, they're still growing as a tag team at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they didn't start out with a lot of great chemistry. You know, they were two different wrestlers, different styles, and they were getting together. And I think at this particular time, they were probably better singles wrestlers than tag wrestlers. But eventually they got great. I mean, their chemistry was great together once they were tag team champions.
Team Angle would leave Benoit and Edge laying out. You got to be thrilled with how things are going just 2 weeks in already, though, dude.
Yeah, I was excited. Team Angle was making a huge impact on TV.
Yeah, absolutely. The go-home SmackDown from the Meadowlands sees you actually wrestling in a handicap match. Kurt, I understand it's a handicap match, so you don't have to, you know, do too much here. But were you really ready for this at all?
No, I wasn't ready. That's why we had the handicap match. I didn't wrestle that much that night. I didn't get in the ring too much. So, you know, it was just one of those things where we had to wait it out. There's my daughter, Nicoletta.
Yeah, I see her. Yeah. Hi, Nicoletta. How are you? Oh, hey, she waved back.
I'll be down in a few minutes. Okay. All right. So where are we?
No, that's all right. We'll keep going with the storyline. We were talking about you in this handicap match, and were you really ready for it? That handicap match?
No, I wasn't. I had, go ahead, honey. I had, with my knee injury, I wasn't ready. I wasn't going to be ready till the Royal Rumble, which I didn't even know if I was going to be ready by then. I didn't have a lot of time to heal my knee. I only had like a few weeks. So I just had to do what I could, and that's what I did.
So listen, Edge gets the heat on him from Team Angle when Benoit gets a hot tag and starts hitting German suplexes before he puts you in the crossface, and you're not the legal man and wouldn't break the hold, and he starts hitting you with a crutch as the show goes off the air. But are you happy realizing the knee injury? Are you still happy though with the build of what's going on here with you and Benoit at Royal Rumble?
It was as good as it could have been. I mean, we couldn't have done anything else. With my knee injury, I was limited, so I thought the build-up was really good.
I want to ask about the knee injury, and you told me that you're going through therapy, you're trying to get it better. Are these WWE doctors that are working with you? Are you working with your own group, your own team of doctors? What's the therapy process look like as far as helping you get back to where you need to be?
Well, the therapy with Dr. Andrews from Alabama, that's the WWE doctor. That's who worked on me, worked on my knee. He had a great rehab plan for me. I was able to do it at home. I didn't have to be there. I was only there for a few days, and we went over some stuff that they wanted me to do, and I continued to do it at home. So, those doctors are the best doctors in the world.
So then you would do the plan, and then as you would come to arenas for different shows, would they then have their own doctor that would kind of put you through a test or just check on you to see how you're doing?
Yeah, they would have a doctor that would check on me, especially if I had to do anything physical that night. So, but for the most part, I went back to Dr. Andrews, I believe after Royal Rumble to get a checkup.
Okay.
And he said my knee was doing well, and, I didn't re-injure it in the Rumble, and that everything was going good.
Is he the one who had to clear you for the Royal Rumble?
Yes. He did clear me. He thought I was a little crazy to get, to do it within 3 weeks, but I didn't have a choice. I mean, I was the world champion, and I was going to wrestle Chris Benoit. And what appeared to be my greatest match of my career, which I didn't know at the time I was going to do.
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for you in Dr. James Andrews' office right before Royal Rumble when he's trying to make the decision whether he should clear you or not. I can't imagine you're going to clear me. I mean, I'm cleared, sign that paper. I mean, what were those conversations like?
You know what? He was cool. He understood. He's like, hey, no problem. You know what? Just be careful. It's just a cartilage, a meniscus.
Okay.
Although you have a ligament damage, but that's not too bad. So it wasn't a big deal to him because it was just a cartilage. I mean, it gives your knee a lot of pain to have a torn cartilage in your knee, a lot of pain. So getting that cartilage out was a big deal.
So he thought unless something catastrophic happens, there really wasn't going to be an opportunity where you could do major damage to your knee going back in the ring.
Not by any means, no.
Okay. Well, listen, buddy, we're at the show now, Kurt, and normally we would play a clip at the end of the match to watch, but we're going to invite all of you to join us for an ad-free shows bonus episode this month where, Kurt, you and I are going to sit down and we're going to watch the entire match together because it's your favorite match of all time?
Yes, it is. And at the time that I did it, I didn't know that it was my favorite match. But after I saw it, after it was done, I was like, holy crap, this is the greatest match I've ever had. And I don't even know if I'll ever have a match better than that. And I don't think I did. I would say Shawn Michaels' WrestleMania was pretty close.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't know. I don't know if anything was better than that.
Yeah, so we're absolutely going to take the opportunity to watch it in full. We don't want to do that here on this show, but we're going to watch it together, maybe source some questions from our ad-free show family and answer as we watch it together. So I'm really excited about that bonus episode. Guys, head over to adfreeshows.com, sign up, and you can watch it with us. We're going to put that together. But let's discuss the review from The Observer, and then we're going to dig into that and some questions. Meltzer said, Kurt Angle retained the SmackDown title over Chris Benoit in 19 minutes and 48 seconds. Benoit teased the sharpshooter early. Angle bled from the mouth early. They traded German suplexes with Benoit getting the better and climbed up top. Angle ran and did the belly-to-belly superplex. He tried an angle slam, countered by a crossface by Benoit. Benoit used an ankle lock with Angle countering to his own ankle lock. But Benoit countered back into the crossface. So, guys, you can envision just the back and forth of suplexes and counter moves that's going on here. Angle got a near fall with the banana split. That's what Meltzer called it. The success of this match speaks volumes for the past 6 months or so of educating the audience towards submissions that actually work, as this exact match 18 months ago in the same position would have died. And Meltzer says, remember when Ken Shamrock was in the company working submission styles and nobody cared about any of his moves except the ankle lock because it was the only one they thought that actually worked? Not anymore. They did another series of trading German suplexes until Benoit did the one where Angle flipped all the way over and landed on his stomach. Benoit did a diving headbutt at least 2/3 of the way across the ring for a near fall, followed by a crossface. Angle escaped from that, and he hit the Angle slam for another great near fall. Angle countered the crossface and into an ankle lock. Benoit escaped that one, but Angle put the ankle lock on again. Benoit tried to escape again, but as he was about to, Angle switched it to a heel hook, and Benoit tapped out. The fans then gave Benoit a loud standing ovation for the quality of the match. Meltzer gave it 4 3/4 stars. I have a feeling if he had a chance, he would re-rank that and give it a 5-star, man. It sounds like a 5-star just reading the recap, bud.
It was. I thought it was 6 stars.
As it should be. Talk about putting that match together, Kurt. Can you walk through it with us? Did you have an agent involved? Was it you and Chris? Tell us about that process.
Well, I think our agent was either Pat Patterson or Johnny Laurinaitis. I can't remember. But you know what? Chris and I put that match together. For the most part, I actually structured it. All the submission trade-offs, all the false finishes, that was all me. I was really good with this stuff because I was an amateur wrestler. And, you know, in amateur wrestling, you go from one move to the other, to the other, to the other. You learn about transition. It's almost like jujitsu when you're going from one submission to another and, you know, back and forth. Chris was, he was a guy that could do anything. So he wasn't more of a match caller. He was more like, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. Oh, I can do that too. Yeah, I can do that. Don't worry. I'll be there for you. Like, so he could do just about anything. So I came up with most of the match and he just said, yes, I'll do it. We can do this. And a lot of it was from amateur wrestling and he was able to adapt, even though he never wrestled amateur before. Like a lot of my submission trade-offs and some of my wrestling moves, he would counter. And it's like, how does this guy know how to do this? You know, he was incredible.
And at this point, too, now you have some experience under your belt. You know how to feel out a crowd, how to sense what they're feeling and know when we move into this and move that. So you've now got the pro wrestling experience that's starting to come under your belt as far as putting together matches. So that's only going to help you enhance your match quality.
Oh, my experience. Yeah. Because I was, you know, wrestling on top for so long, ever since I started, 3 years and, or 2.5 years. But, getting to wrestle at that level for so long, yeah, you're going to get better and you're going to get experience. You're going to be well-versed on how to structure your matches and feel the crowd. And I was able to do that this particular time.
And, just even talking to Dr. Tom Pritchard in the past, he was like, Paul, Kurt Angle was one of the fastest to ever pick it up. And I don't even mean wrestling holds. I mean the psychology of the business. And that makes sense. You have to have that when putting together matches. And so it's good to see that here with this match and hear how that you really worked together with Chris to put this together. Do you think you and Benoit had helped train the fans how to really enjoy submissions and have it make sense? To Meltzer's point, he said, man, back in the day when Shamrock was here, the only submission that got over was the ankle lock. Now we're in a different world. The fans are digging the submission wrestling.
Well, I think that Chris and I kind of reignited the submission trade-offs. We started doing it in 2000, 2001, 2002, and we kind of programmed the fans, hey, these are our submission holds. These are our trade-offs. Some things we did new at the Royal Rumble, but some things were old. But we did train these fans throughout our matches to understand psychology and submission trade-offs. So by the time we went to the Royal Rumble, the fans knew what to expect and they understood.
And it was exciting. The trade-offs were exciting to watch.
They were popping. Every submission trade-off, they were popping even louder. It was incredible. Yeah. We had the crowd by the seat of their pants.
The submissions and what you were doing, it brought out emotion in the fans, and that was the key.
Yes, without a doubt.
You said this is one of your favorite singles matches, and I said for you this was your favorite. Is it your favorite, or is it top 3? What would you say?
It's my favorite. And I told you before, when I got done with that match, I was so disappointed. I thought it was average at most. It was a lot to do with my knee. But after watching it and seeing how the match played out, I was like, wow. I don't know if I could have done it better, even with a good knee. So
right.
I was excited. I was so happy and elated that we had that match. Because, the crazy thing is, I wanted people to remember that match forever. But unfortunately, for the most part, it's not being aired anymore because of what Chris Benoit did to his family. And it's unfortunate that, this occurred. But, for my legacy, people, I want people to remember these matches because they were my best matches, especially with Chris Benoit.
You're not asking people to remember him with rose-colored glasses and shiny, happy thoughts. You are asking people to remember the match that Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit put in between the ropes. That's all.
That's all. You're exactly right.
Well, listen, how about the crowd's reaction, the standing ovation afterwards? How surprised were you guys by that?
Okay. Vince McMahon actually called it. They started clapping. They're standing, and Vince is like, holy shit, we're going to have to stop the show. He stopped that show for 15 minutes. This is a pay-per-view. Okay. Every minute is money. And Vince let this crowd give Chris a standing ovation for 15 minutes during a pay-per-view. That was incredible. That's never been done before. Never will be done again. But Chris Benoit deserved that night.
And you did too, Kurt. You did too, buddy. Well, listen, we got some fan questions to wrap up this show. This has been a fun one. I've enjoyed it. We didn't even watch any of that match. We're going to, but I still feel excited just talking about it and hearing you talk about it. Francis Reyes kicks us off. He says, what's different about going to the Royal Rumble pay-per-view as a champion compared to going into Wrestle in the Rumble? So what's different about that experience?
Well, you're adding to the pay-per-view because the feature is the Royal Rumble. Okay, that's the main event of the show. But you're going to have feature matches, world championship matches, that's going to add to the pay-per-view. Those are going to add money to the pay-per-view for reasons for people to order it, not just to see the Royal Rumble winner, but see people defend their titles. So we were a feature match, and that's the difference. I never won the Royal Rumble. So if I'm not going to win it, I don't want to be in it. I'd rather be in a feature match. That's my own opinion.
And guys, if you missed the show a few weeks ago, Kurt said one of his things he would love to have gone back and done, win the Rumble, go on to WrestleMania to win the title. That would always have been a dream sequence for him.
That would have completed my career.
There you go. Matthew Lloyd's up next. Despite the horrible circumstances, which you and I just talked about, 20 minutes in the ring with Benoit sounds like a dream for any wrestler. How do you feel the match went?
The match was as good as it could have been. And like I said before, I didn't think it was that good, but I've never been that wrong in my life before. But the match was amazing. I just couldn't believe how well put together it was and how it built up, and the storyline just kept getting better and better, and the fans were getting more and more into it. And by the end, they were ready to explode. There wasn't a match that I've seen in the last 25 years that is, besides maybe Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels at their Iron Man match at WrestleMania. But other than that, I haven't seen a match that has been that good. I'm just being honest.
Tyler says, do you think that Chris Benoit was your greatest opponent? Every time you guys shared the ring, it was magic.
Yes, he was my greatest opponent. I'm not going to say he's the greatest entertainer of all time, but I'm going to say from an in-ring standpoint, he's the best. Shawn Michaels is the best overall entertainer as far as entertainment, looks, him going in the ring, him being able to talk. Shawn Michaels, I have to say, is probably the best that I've ever been in the ring with. But as far as just wrestling, Chris Benoit.
It was like Kurt Angle versus Kurt Angle. It
was like wrestling myself. I was looking in the mirror.
The intensity, all of it. Mike just tweeted Bop Bop has a question. That's his full handle. Mike just tweeted Bop Bop. He says, is this your favorite Angle versus Benoit match? And if so, what's a close second?
I would say there was a match where we had a 3 falls in it. I believe it was in 2001. I can't remember which pay-per-view it was, but that match was really good too. I don't remember the pay-per-view, but remember, it's a 3 falls match. It was against Chris Benoit, and I won that match again.
There you go. If you guys can find it, let us know. I don't remember offhand either, but 3 falls, Angle Benoit sounds pretty cool to me. Antoine Daniels Jr. is up next. He said, would you put this match over your match with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania?
Unfortunately, yes. And that's tough because WrestleMania is WrestleMania. I mean, that's the biggest event of all time. Every year, that's what we look forward to. That's where we want to put on our best performances. But for me, the Royal Rumble against Chris Benoit 2003 doesn't get any better.
Eric Petronas is up next. He says, was there any discussions on you dropping the WWE title to Benoit on this night, or was the decision already made for you to face Lesnar for the title at Mania?
It was already made. It was Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle in the main event WrestleMania. So Chris Benoit was just another, a guy in my way that I had to knock off to keep going. But Chris, what I was so happy about was when he finally won the world championship.
Yeah.
And I believe it was at WrestleMania 20, which was, seeing him do that was amazing. I just felt that this is something that Chris really deserved. It was a long time coming. And I remember him and Eddie in the ring celebrating. They were both world champions. And they're the 2 undersized guys that never had a chance to win the world championship. And seeing those 2 in the ring was amazing. It was a blessing.
Kurt, we'll go quick here with the last few. This is a lot of questions, but people love this episode. They love this match with you and Benoit. Josue says, what was your reaction to the Triple H versus Scott Steiner match?
It was disappointing. I mean, but you can't blame either guy for what happened. I mean, Scott just wasn't 100%, with his drop foot. And I know he was having a lot of problems and struggling in that match. And Scott is way better than that. I mean, he is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time to transfer from amateur to pro wrestling. I love Scotty, and I think he's an incredible athlete, incredible wrestler. It was just unfortunate that he was injured at that time.
There you go. Hazard F5, love him. His belt reviews. He has a great question here. He said, your match with Chris Benoit at Royal Rumble 2003 is genuinely my favorite one-on-one match ever. I can rewatch it repeatedly and not get bored. Did any of the boys in the back praise you for the bout? And if so, what did they say? Part of what made the match for me was the mat chain wrestling, which sadly is a lost art now. Why don't you think it's still prevalent in the business? So let's start with this first question. What about the boys? Did they say anything to you guys after this match?
You know what? Unfortunately, no. Nobody said anything. I don't know why. Nobody came up to me, probably because I was pissed off. I probably had a pissed off look on my face because I thought the match was horrible. I thought it was average. And so I wasn't really happy. I didn't want to talk to anybody. So nobody really approached me and said, hey, that match was awesome or that match sucked. So unfortunately, I never got an answer from anybody because I was so pissed off at what happened.
And then his second question is about mat and chain wrestling. It's sadly a lost art now. Why don't you think it's still prevalent in the business as much anymore?
The business has changed. It's about stunts now. These guys are doing high spots, flips and gainers and moonsaults and diving up head first outside the ring, which is all good. It's great.
It's entertaining. Yeah.
It is entertaining, but how long are you going to do that and how many times are you going to do it before you get injured? Doing the chain wrestling and the submission trade-offs is a lot safer, and the fans actually love it. They love when you tell a story in a match, not just doing stunts, but you're telling a story. Good guy versus bad guy. You guys wrestle each other. The good guy overcomes the bad guy, is beating the guy. The bad guy cuts him off, gets the heat on him. The good guy makes a comeback, and then there's the finish. When you tell a story like that and you put wrestling involved in it, it's going to be much better than just a bunch of stunts.
Kurt, you saw how often you were injured just doing the wrestling you did. Could you imagine if you were doing moonsaults, running around ring ropes and monkey flips?
I'd be in a wheelchair right now.
Yeah. And that's what I'm trying. That's the message for the wrestlers now. Take it from a guy like Kurt Angle, who, some of his best friends are surgeons. This is not the way you want to live in your 50s, right?
Without a doubt. You're absolutely right.
Oh, man. 2 Count Kyle. Kurt, if someone who was a wrestling novice was going to watch this match with you and Benoit, how would you briefly summarize to them why this is so perfect? And believe me, as an obsessive fan of this, it's just that. I've also tried to explain it with my non-wrestling fan wife, and she, try to explain to her. But how would you summarize to them why this match was just so perfect?
It told an amazing story. I mean, Chris and I were on that night. The submission trade-offs and the false finishes, the timing of everything was so perfect. And having it in such an arena with an incredible crowd like the Boston fans made it even more special. But everything was aligned that night. Like the stars were aligned. Everything was set for us to have one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time. And I'm not sure if that will ever be ranked as one of the greatest matches of all time, but in my mind, I think it is.
2 more questions and then we'll wrap up. Bryant Haremza, you turn heel going into this match. Did you feel you had to be a heel for this match, or do you think a babyface versus babyface match would have worked?
I think babyface versus babyface would have worked, but I'm glad I was a heel because I wanted Chris to get the shine, and I wanted the fans to boo me. I always felt more comfortable wrestling Chris with him as a babyface and me as a heel, because I always liked to call the match to Chris. I always wanted to be in control during the heat to tell him what was coming up next. I felt more comfortable with me calling the match than him. And that's why I like to be the heel.
There you go. Final question, a wrestling historian. He says, how much more pressure were you guys under after the whole failure of Scott Steiner and Triple H? Thanks in advance.
Okay. You know what? Let's not pick on that too badly. It wasn't a failure. It's just Scott was injured. We had a lot of pressure. Yeah. We always knew. We knew no matter what, we were going to have the best match of the night. So we just wanted to focus on our match. We weren't worried about Triple H and Scott Steiner. We just wanted to have the best match that we could have, and that's what we did.
And buddy, you did. This was a big time match. As I said, we're going to watch it together, ad-free shows. Check it out with us. But man, this was a fun show, bud. I had a whole lot of fun going over this with you, and you could hear the passion in your voice throughout the entire episode. Whether it was
my favorite match of all time. Yeah.
Yeah, whether it was talking Team Angle and working with Charlie and Shelton, all the way through with Paul Heyman, and then the build of this match, dealing with the knee injury, and then the culmination to what you have said is your favorite match of all time, what we just talked about today. Guys, listen, next week, we're talking more Rumble because it's Rumble season. We're going to discuss Royal Rumble 04, where you were one of the last 3 with Big Show and Chris Benoit. And we're going to jump into 05 in a triple threat match. It was you and JBL and Big Show for the WWE title and our second ever Royal Rumble Megasode. That's what we're calling it. We're going to do 04 and 05 together. Kurt, I'm going to announce something right now. I didn't even talk to you about this, so I'm going to do it live on the air because I'm going to make you have to do it. Kurt and I are really loving what's going on over on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is growing. Dominic D'Angelo is crushing it. Lots of clips are coming out over there. But Kurt and I are going to do something a little different this year, and that is we're going to do some YouTube exclusives. And our first YouTube exclusive is going to be a short with Kurt Angle picking the WWE Royal Rumble card, the winners and losers. We're going to go through the card together. It's not going to be real long and drawn out. I'm going to go through the card, and Kurt's going to make his picks of what to expect with the Royal Rumble. And we're going to do this for every WWE Premium Live event this year, and it's going to be YouTube exclusive, and we're going to have fun because that's what he and I do together. So go over right now and subscribe to the Kurt Angle Show channel on YouTube. youtube.com/The Angle Pod. And if you subscribe and turn on those notifications, the next 12 events this year, you're going to get exclusive access to hear Kurt's picks on matches. And we're going to start with the Royal Rumble this year. Kurt, what do you think of that?
That's going to be fun, man.
We got to get to 100,000, buddy, and we're going to do it.
We're going to get there, hell or high water.
We're doing it, and it's going to be fun, and I hope it goes viral because I feel like you're going to bring some fun picks, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Also, you can check out all Kurt's past top Impact moments at impactwrestling.com/packages. Sign up with code Kurt. Listen, we're talking lots of WWE right now, but the man was a stud a star with TNA and Impact Wrestling.
I was actually there longer than I was in WWE.
There you go. So check that out. Remember, you can follow and subscribe to all things Kurt Angle at anglepodlinks.com. Check it out there. Also, last month over on adfreeshows.com, Eric Bischoff and Nick Patrick sat down live together for the very first time to discuss what really happened in one of the most infamous main events in history. It's called Starrcade 1997, The Fast Count. You can catch it right now on demand anytime over at adfreeshows.com. And this month, Ad Free Shows is bringing you another premium watch-along event. We talked about it already, the Royal Rumble. The 35-year anniversary is this year, and Ad Free Shows is going to watch it live with the winner of the historic match. Hacksaw Jim Duggan is going to be watching that very first Royal Rumble January 24th at 9 p.m. Eastern. Sign up right now, adfreeshows.com. Kurt, we got so much going on this year. It's going to be an exciting year. Talk to them about what's exciting and happening with their diet plans if they munch on some chicken snacks.
All right, I have chicken snacks and Snack Smart Crispy Protein Bites. One's chicken protein, one's organic plant protein. You can order these at physicallyfit.com. There are 11 different flavors. If you go on, if you type in the code AnglePod, you get 20% off your first order, or you can become a lifetime member and sign up on the website and get 20% off for the rest of your life. But these things are incredible. You're going to absolutely love them.
Guys, if you follow him on Instagram and you just saw his beach picture, the man is shredded. Okay. He can't swim, but my God, he is built like, I don't know what. He's a shredded beast. And you know how he got there?
Chicken snacks. Yeah.
Chicken snacks, baby. There you go. KurtAngleBrand.com. That's where you're getting your cowboy hat, your milk cartons, your cameo videos, your birthday cards, and t-shirts. KurtAngleBrand.com. Kurt, I mean, come on. I know you're still working on Cameo, hot and heavy, left and right, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, I love Cameo. I love sending people messages. But I also have autographed photos, cowboy hats, like you said, birthday cards. I have the whole ball of wax. Go on the website, sign up, and I'll send it to you.
There you go. Guys, listen, all Kurt Angle Show merchandise like this broken freaking neck t-shirt and the new sweatshirt is over there too. Boxofgimmicks.com, including the brand new ratings machine t-shirt. Thanks to our buddy Dominic D'Angelo. If you have ideas, let us know on social. Dominic's all over it. We're trying to build the store up. And buddy, I'm excited to share with you. We're going to be doing an 11x17 poster. It's going to come out soon. You and I are going to see each other next week. You're going to autograph them, but we're doing the guests of the Kurt Angle Show. JD Hoop has put together a custom poster. We're starting with 2021 that year. All the guests on the show autographed. Look for that to hit the website soon. I'm letting it rip today. I'm spoiling all the big stuff coming.
You never tell me stuff until the last second.
I know, man. Wait till you see it, Kurt. It's fantastic. You're going to see me next week. You're going to autograph them all. Then we're going to do one for 2022 and the guests we had on, and we're going to do it each year. It's a piece of artwork that you're going to want for your collection. More to come on that. I'll be with Kurt next week. He's going to sign every single one of them, and we'll get them posted on the Kurt Angle Show merchandise as well. So lots of big things coming this year from the Kurt Angle Show. You know we'll be bringing back guests too. It's just a matter of time. We're excited about that. But Kurt, it is over for this week. We're coming back with that megasode next week. Thank you so much for doing this with me today.
Thank you, Paul. I had fun, man.
On behalf of your Olympic hero, Kurt Angle, this is Paul Bromwell, and we'll see you right back here next week on The Kurt Angle Show.